Beggar boy, how dare you think you can fix this rocket?
I can. Just watch me.
If this problem isn't fixed, I'll fire all of you.
It was June 2024, and the place was NASA's Space Center in Houston. Normally, this area was filled from morning with the roar of rocket engines and the hustle of scientists. But that day, and strange silence had spread over Launch Pad 39A. The Artemis-X mission, which was considered America's biggest lunar exploration project, was completely drowned in tension that day. This was the same mission whose rocket was preparing to build a base on the moon, and which had a strong identity as a name in the field of space technology. In the main hangar of the launch pad, NASA's most important and most expensive rocket, Artemis-X Heavy, stood silently. Built at a cost of about 500 crore, this rocket was considered the backbone of America's entire space program. Because it had been shut down for the last 15 days, the entire timeline of the lunar mission had come to a halt, and NASA had to suffer losses of crores every day. The situation had become so bad that even experts from the European Space Agency had been called in. The rocket's software was reinstalled. Fuel lines and sensors were replaced. The cryogenic engine was opened up and reassembled. But despite this, the rocket's main engine would not start again. The red warning light on top of the rocket kept glowing continuously. The entire team of scientists was working day and night around that same rocket. But what the real problem was, no one could understand it. Tension inside NASA was growing, because this rocket was not just a rocket anymore. It had become a question of America's prestige and space dominance. In the mission control room, Dr. Richardson stood in front of his team. The pressure of responsibility was clearly visible on his face. White hair, tired eyes, and worry on his face. All of this showed that the mission's troubles had not let him rest peacefully for many days. On the screen in front was the report of the same grounded rocket, which every attempt to fix so far had failed. Dr. Richardson said in a serious voice, "It's been 15 days. We have checked the rocket in every possible way, but the real problem has still not come to light. If we don't find a solution even today, we will have to stop the mission." The scientists present in the room started looking at each other. The atmosphere was heavy because everyone knew that this mission was NASA's greatest strength. A senior scientist stepped forward and said, "Sir, we have tested everything from the guidance system to the propulsion unit. No major fault is showing in the rocket, but the moment we ignite, the engine fails. All right, today it will be completely rechecked one last time. I want a clear answer by evening. Will the rocket fly or not?" After the meeting ended, Dr. Richardson came down the stairs of the launch pad and walked straight toward the security gate. His mind was still tangled in worry about the rocket. As Dr. Richardson reached near the gate, his eyes fell on a thin, lean boy standing near the perimeter fence. The boy's age did not seem more than 17 or 18 years. His clothes were old and covered in dust, and he held an old telescope in his hand. He was looking toward the sky, but his attention was less on his telescope and more on the rocket standing at the launch pad. The boy's name was Ethan. Every time the red warning light on the launch pad flashed, his gaze would fix in that direction. There was a different kind of seriousness on his face, as if he was understanding the rocket's condition. He muttered to himself, "These people are looking at the rocket's software and sensors, but the real trouble is hidden behind the cryogenic fuel system." The security guards standing nearby were not paying attention to his words. To them, he was just a crazy kid whose words held no value. During the day, Ethan set up his telescope outside the space center and showed stars to tourists. That was his job and his source of income. But as soon as night fell, in one corner of the city, there was his father's small workshop, where old radios, satellite parts, and electronics tools were kept everywhere. It was there that Ethan had learned to catch radio signals, connect circuits, and understand conditions through frequency. His father had previously worked as a technician in a small telecom company, so he had deep experience in electronics. He often used to tell Ethan, "Every device has its own mind, son. If you listen carefully, it will tell you itself where the trouble is." Ethan had not just heard these words, but had understood them too. The condition at home was not easy. His mother, Elena, had been battling cancer for many months. The cost of treatment was so high that earning every day had become a necessity for Ethan. Ethan knew that to change his circumstances, he needed not just hard work, but also the right opportunity. For many nights he had been thinking about how he could somehow get inside the launch pad and take a look at that grounded rocket. He was convinced that if he got even one chance to understand that rocket, he could detect its fault and perhaps change the course of his life with it. As soon as morning came, he headed toward the main gate of the space center. Seeing the security guard standing there, he paused for a few moments. Then, gathering courage, he said, "Brother, just let me see the rocket for 10 minutes. I can tell you what's wrong." The guard looked at him. Then with a light laugh, he said, "Here, big NASA scientists are sitting, and kids like you will fix the rocket. Get out of here." Ethan was pushed out. It was afternoon time, and chaos was reigning in NASA's launch complex. Scientists were continuously checking data on the rocket's main computer. Settings were changing, and with every new attempt, they would tie their hopes. But as soon as an attempt was made to ignite the engine, the same message would appear on the monitor in red letters: engine failure, cryogenic pressure error. This warning had kept the entire team puzzled for many days. Dr. Richardson was standing below watching all this. It was clear on his face that his patience was now running out. He could not understand why, even after so much hard work, the rocket was still not flying. Just then, his eyes fell on the same boy standing near the launch pad gate, whom he had also seen in the morning. That boy was Ethan. He had a telescope in his hand. But today his attention was not on his work. He was just staring toward that grounded rocket on the launch pad, as if something was becoming clear to him. Dr. Richardson asked the guard standing nearby, "Who is this boy? Why does he keep standing here?" "Sir, he shows stars to tourists outside, but he says he will fix the rocket. Seems crazy." Dr. Richardson watched the boy carefully for a few seconds. There was no joke on his face, but confidence. Perhaps for the first time, Dr. Richardson felt that this boy was not standing here just like that. He called Ethan closer. Looking toward the boy, Dr. Richardson asked, "Why do you keep looking toward the rocket on the launch pad again and again?" "Sir, since childhood I have been watching space and rockets, so I try to understand. But your job is to show stars to tourists, right?" "Yes, sir, it's out of necessity. To run the house and for my mother's medicines, I have to do this." "Do you think what the real fault is in the rocket?" "Sir, there is no problem in the rocket. The problem is in the cryogenic system that supplies it fuel. Perhaps someone has calibrated it incorrectly." "If you are allowed to go near the rocket, will you be able to tell where the problem is?" "Sir, I will try my best. If I am wrong, I will leave from here myself." It was clearly visible in his eyes that he was not joking but really knew something. Dr. Richardson turned toward security and said, "Take him inside. Today let's see how correct this kid's understanding is." When Ethan reached inside the launch pad for the first time, his steps automatically slowed down. For him, this place was nothing less than a dream. The Artemis-X Heavy rocket standing in front was so massive that it appeared to stretch all the way to the clouds. Massive fuel tanks, complex piping, shining control panels, and cables attached everywhere. Just looking at all this made it clear that this was no ordinary rocket, but the very life of the entire space program. The red warning light on top of the rocket was still glowing, the same red light that had been troubling all of NASA for the past many days. Ethan stood there for a few moments. Then slowly he went closer to the rocket. He placed his hand on the rocket's cold metal structure, as if trying to feel its condition. Some scientists standing nearby were whispering among themselves, "Sir, don't take such a big risk. This boy is just wasting time." But Dr. Richardson raised his hand and silenced everyone. There was no strictness on his face, but curiosity. He felt that there was no joke in this boy's eyes. There was a different kind of confidence. Ethan was now carefully examining every part of the rocket. Sometimes he would look at the fuel line, sometimes toward the cryogenic tank. Complete concentration was clearly visible on his face, as if he was trying to hear some answer from the rocket. Ethan slowly walked around the rocket, carefully inspecting every part. A few seconds later, he stopped at one spot. Looking toward the rocket, he said, "Sir, this rocket has not shut down on its own. Someone has deliberately stopped it." The scientists standing in the room started looking at each other. A senior scientist immediately asked, "How can you say that?" Ethan pointed toward the lower part of the rocket and said, "Its main fuel valve is not in its proper place. It has been slightly turned so that the moment the rocket ignites, the fuel system fails." A senior scientist said in surprise, "This is impossible. It's not easy to reach that part." Ethan replied in a calm voice, "If you open the fourth bolt on this panel, the setting inside will be clearly visible." The scientist opened the bolt, and as soon as the panel was removed, everyone's eyes went to that valve. It was truly half-turned. Complete silence fell over the entire hangar. Ethan continued and said there is one more issue. The lower cryogenic pipe section is also not fitted properly. That's why the rocket's fuel flow is not becoming correct. He took a flashlight and shone it on the pipeline. The scientists bent down to look and realized that the pipe was indeed slightly shifted. Now for the first time, seriousness appeared on the scientists' faces. They understood that this was not just a technical fault, but could also be tampering done from inside. Ethan reached near the electronics bay built on the right side of the rocket. As soon as he placed his hand on the bay, he immediately pulled his hand back. Seriousness was clearly visible on his face. Looking toward Dr. Richardson, Ethan said, "Sir, if the rocket is launched right now, a major accident could happen." Dr. Richardson asked in shock, "What is the danger?" Ethan replied in a calm voice, "The wiring in this electronics bay has been connected incorrectly. The power and ground cables have been attached in reverse. Therefore, there is a risk of short circuit in the system." A scientist immediately opened the bay to check. The wiring inside was indeed reversed. Now complete silence fell over the entire hangar. Everyone had understood that this was not just a rocket malfunction but could also be the move of some insider. Ethan said softly, "Sir, if you trust me, give me a few minutes. I can fix it." Dr. Richardson said without thinking, "All right, start working." Tools were placed in front of him. Ethan carefully separated the cables. Then he began connecting them in the correct order. He also straightened the lower pipeline and set the main valve back to its proper position. In just a few minutes, the fuel pressure level shown on the rocket's monitor began to stabilize. Ethan took a deep breath and said, "Now the rocket can be ignited." Dr. Richardson gestured for him to press the button himself. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment as if saying something to the rocket, and then pressed the ignition button. For a few seconds, everyone went silent. Then suddenly a sound echoed from inside the rocket and the red warning light turned off, replaced by a green light coming on. The entire rocket became launch-ready again. As soon as the rocket was ready, the atmosphere of the entire launch complex changed. The place that had been filled with tension and fear for the last 15 days now echoed with breaths of relief. The scientists were looking at each other as if they could not believe their own eyes. For the first time, someone looked toward that poor boy with respect. Dr. Richardson was still standing quietly. Along with surprise on his face, there was also a strange kind of peace. He slowly called Ethan closer and asked, "How did you learn all this, son?" "I work at night in my father's workshop. By opening old radios, transmitters, and satellite parts, I learned to recognize their frequencies." He said that every device has its own unique signal when it runs, and only when that signal changes do you understand where the trouble is. This touched Dr. Richardson deep inside. He realized that true skill does not come from a degree, but from understanding and hard work. A senior scientist admitted for the first time, "We people were looking at the rocket only like a computer for so many days, but this kid understood it like a living thing." "Ethan, today you have not just saved the rocket but the future of our mission. Such a big..." Where the scientists had given up, there you showed courage. Another scientist stepped forward and said, "Sir, what we could not do in 15 days, this boy did in 15 minutes. Sir, upon checking the security footage, it has been found that the tampering with the rocket was done by one of NASA's own contractors. That person was in contact with a rival space agency and wanted to cause damage to the mission." Hearing this, anger appeared on Dr. Richardson's face. But at the same time, there was also pride that a poor boy had uncovered the truth. He immediately said to Ethan, "From today, you are our mission's special technical assistant. Your education, your mother's treatment, everything will be our responsibility." Tears came to Ethan's eyes. For the first time, he saw his dream coming true. It felt like his life was starting to change. That same evening, Dr. Richardson reached Ethan's home, completely different from the shine and glamour of the Space Center. Ethan's home was squeezed into a small apartment. Inside, Elena, Ethan's mother, was sitting on the sofa. Her face was weak, but the moment she saw her son, strength of motherly love came into her eyes. She asked softly, "Ethan, son, is everything all right?" "Yes, Mom. Everything is fine now, both the rocket and our life." Dr. Richardson stepped forward and greeted Elena. There was no arrogance of a chief in his voice now, but the humility of a human being. He said, "Ma'am, your son was born with great talent. If our mission is running today, it is only because of him. You have given him very good values." Elena's eyes became moist. In a trembling voice, she said, "Sir, I have only taught him this, that there is no religion greater than hard work." In just a few weeks, Elena's treatment began at Houston's biggest cancer hospital. The doctors assured that she would slowly get better. For the first time, Elena felt that her son was not just her support, but the biggest reward of her struggle. A few months later, Ethan got admission into MIT's prestigious space engineering program, where once he was not even allowed to stand at the gate to watch rockets. Today, the same NASA was seeing him as one of the most special members of its team. Now, Ethan could be seen standing at the launch pad every day. Earlier, he used to learn by watching rockets from afar, and now he controlled and understood them with his own hands. His hard work and understanding made him an example for every scientist at NASA. Dr. Richardson often watched him working from the window of his office. A light smile of pride would appear on his face, and one single thought would come to his mind. Talent has no home, no clothes, no status. The day it gets recognition, that very day it writes space history. Friends, sometimes life throws us down so that we can rise even higher. Ethan's story teaches us exactly this, that talent, hard work, and truth are greater than any circumstance. If you like this story, please do share it with your friends, because perhaps somewhere another Ethan is also waiting for his recognition.